You want to Zion bait or the other one?
Uh, we want sign base.
Zion bait. Okay. Okay. If someone fills with one hand and performs a different activity with his other hand, or if he fills for himself and for another, or if he fills for two people simultaneously, both are disqualified for a different activity and validates during the filling, whether it's for himself or somebody else. If somebody sanctifies the water with one hand, performs a different activity with his other hand, if it is for himself, it's disqualified. For someone else, it's okay. If someone sanctifies for himself and someone else his is disqualified, but the water of the other person is valid. If sorry, if someone if someone sanctifies water for two people at once, both are valid. Sanctify for me, and then I will sanctify for you. The first one is valid. Fill for me, and then I will fill for you. The last one is valid. Sanctify for me, and then I will fill for you. Both are valid. Fill for me, and then I will sanctify for you. Both are disqualified. If someone he fills his barrel and a barrel for katas water, he first fills his barrel and then ties it to the carrying pole, and he subsequently fills
Hold
the
on, no,
barrel
this
for
is
katas.
not. This is
That's
mine.
yours. That's yours. That's
Yeah.
yours.
Hey,
Okay.
sign. Okay. All right. So, mamale o velachatas. Okay, so a guy goes to the river. He wants to get khatas water, but he also wants to get some water for his own personal use. Okay, so what's the good advice for him? Okay, memale is shelot chila. So first of all, he must fill up his personal one first, because if he fills up his personal one second, he's going to mess up the khatas water. So memale is shelot chila v'kosher ba'esel. So he must do that, and he must immediately tie it to the carrying pole. And then he must fill up the khatas water and tie that obviously to the carrying pole. Okay, so if he did the khatas water first, then he's messed it up.
Right.
Okay. No saying es shelo la'acharav, and his personal one must go at the back of the carrying pole. Ve'es shel chatas lefanav, and the chatas water must go in front so that it's properly guarded.
Right.
And if you put the chatas water at the back, then it's going to be pasul because he hasn't given it proper shmira. However, what happens if he was filling up two bowls, two containers? Both of which he wanted to mix into one. Obviously, this is for one filling. He basically wanted to get it home, put it into a bigger container, and then sprinkle the khatas water on the ashes on that, so that it's all one action. So there's no interruption between them. Okay. Now he's got one in the front and one at the back. Okay. There's no other way of doing it. So it's not like he has given a lesser treatment to the khatas water. That's just the way he's got to carry it. Option. It's only when the front one is for personal use that it's considered that it messes up the khatas water. Okay. Okay, so now he's got a rope. He used the rope to drop the bucket into the water, and now he draws it up. Okay, so now. And he wants to, but he borrowed the rope from his friend. So he wants to return the rope, and now the question is that considered a malacha that now he's going to return the rope to his friend before he does the sanctification? The darko kasher, if his friend is directly on the way that he would normally walk, where he's planning to go. So if he's carrying the rope, and he's walking to the place where he's going to put the ashes on, and his friend is in between, and he just hands it to his friend while he's going, that's beseder. That's not considered malacha. However, if he makes a detour to return the rope, that's pasul. He's now taking an action that is interfering in the kiddush of the water. Now, there was actually a practical shaila on this. Which came to Yavne, and it obviously must have been an important situation where they needed for either retroactively or retroactively, because they did a whole bunch of kiddushim with this water, and now they're asking the shine and say, well, was this actually valid? Or else it was that they just had no other water and they were desperate not to get this one messed up. They said, okay, we'll give you a heter this time, but just like don't do this again. So basically, what they're saying is that there was somebody went and returned the rope in the wrong direction, and now they wanted to say what happened with the chattas water that we were using, and because it was a specific need, there was a big shas at the chak, and the based in Yavne said, okay, we'll let it slide this time. Don't do it again. Zion. So if he dropped the bucket into the water, and as he pulled up the rope, he was rolling up the rope as it's coming up. Okay, that's perfectly fine. If he was just pulling up the rope and dropping it on the floor, and he got the water now, and now he wants to roll up the rope, now that's a problem, because that's now a separate action as opposed to rolling it and pulling it up.
The other one was not continuous action. The other one was a continuous action. The water, he had the water and the rope. The one
right. So while he's drawing it, he's folding it. So that's part of the action of drawing the water. Whereas when it's afterwards, now he's just rolling up the rope. He's not doing it as part of drawing up the water. So that would be pasul. Amar Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yossi says, look back at that previous Mishnah where you said, you know that case where you said that that they went to Yavne to find out if they could have a heter. He says this was the case. This is the case in Yavne where somebody was rolling up the rope, and he rolled up the rope after he'd drawn the water, and that was the case in Yavne where they permitted it as a once-off.
Everything has to be, everything with the mekatos has to be one action. It's like one continuous thing. There can't not be a break in there where you go to do something else at all, or have this much trouble or anything. It has to be one continuous action.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, honestly, your best eitzah is to have the ashes nice ready nearby you. When you draw the water, put the ashes, done.
Right.
Because so much can go wrong. But and that's what our Mishnayos are teaching us, is that like a lot can go wrong in between drawing the water and sprinkling the ashes. So shorten that period. That seems to be practical advice.
It seems simple, but if you don't have everything prepared at one time together, then you're gonna miss it. Okay. Exactly. All right. Okay. We're on to Gimel Yud. The paraduma split open, and the Kohen would stand outside its pit and would take cedar wood, azov, and crimson wool, and would say to them, "This is cedar wood. This is cedar wood. This is azov. This is azov. This is crimson wool. This is crimson wool." 3 times concerning each thing, and they said to him, "Yes, and yes," 3 times concerning each thing. The Kohen would bind the cedar wood and the azov and the remnants of the strip of crimson wood, and they cast the bundle into the burning of the paraduma. When the paraduma was burnt, they would beat it with sticks and sift it in sieves. Rabbi Yishmael says it was done with hammers of stone and sieves of stone. Charcoal containing ash they would grind, and what did not contain ash they would leave untouched. As for bone, in either case it would be ground. And they would divide the ashes into 3 portions. 1 portion we place in the kale, 1 we place on oil, and 1 we divide among all the watches. If one slaughtered a katos cow not for its own sake, but it is invalid, or received the blood or sprinkled it is not for its own sake, or for its own sake and not for its own sake, and not for its own sake and not for its own sake, it is invalid. Rabbi Eliezer rules it acceptable, or if it was performed by one whose hands and feet have not been washed, it is invalid. Rabbi Eliezer validates it, and if it was not performed by the Kohen Gadol, it's invalid. Rabbi Yehuda validates, and if the service was performed by a Kohen who lacks vestments, it's disqualified. And when it is performed with white vestments, and when it was performed with white vestments.
Okay. Now Megayim Zayin Aleph.
The following are Baharos and Atahu. Baharos that a person had before the Torah was given. They were on a Gentile who converted, or on a newborn child, or on a fold of skin that became revealed, on the head, or on the beard, or on a raw boil, burn, or wound, literally a boil, or on a burn, or a wound, or on a rebellious ones. If the hand of the beard then became bald, or the boil, the burn, or the wound became partially healed, the tahor. If neger appeared on the head or the beard before the hair grew, then they then grew hair, and subsequently became bald or a boil, burn, or wound that did not scab. Then a scab formed, and the boil, burn, or wound healed. Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov renders these cases tamei since they began and ended as tamei, but the sages rule them taho. Their appearance changed either leniently or stringently. How leniently? If it was like snow, it became like the lime on the sanctuary. And like lime wool or the egg membrane, it became a secondary shade from a sace, or it became secondary shade from an intense white. How stringently? If it was like egg membrane and became like white wool, the lime of the sanctuary, or like snow, Reb Elias ben Azariah renders it tahor. Reb Elazar Chizma says if it changed leniently, it's tahor. And if it changed stringently, it must be examined anew. Rabbi Kiva says whether it's changed leniently or stringently, it must be examined anew. The Kohen would confine a Baharis that has nothing inside it, either initially or at the end of the first week. If at the end of the second week or the nega had become tahor, it should make it tahor. If it was still confining it or declaring it tahor when it develops symptoms of tumor, he should confirm it. The Kohen should confirm a Baharis that was symptoms of tumor inside, and it was still confirming it when the symptoms of tumor disappeared. If initially or at the end of the first week, or confined, or if it at the end of the second week or after the nega has become taho, he should make it taho. He should make it taho. Okay.
Okay.
And on to Kalam. Kalam, cuff cuff. A bagpipe is impervious to midras tumor. Regarding a trough of pizones, Reb Shammai says is susceptible to midras tumor, but Beis Hillel said it's only susceptible to becoming tummy with corpse tumor. Regarding a trough with a capacity of between 2 logs and 9 calves that cracked, it is susceptible to becoming tummy with midras tumor. If one left it in the rain and it swelled, it's susceptible to becoming tummy with corpse tumor. If he then placed it in the east wind and it develops a crack, it's susceptible to midras tumor. This is the stringency that applies to the remnants of wooden utensils or the original utensil, and the stringency that applies to the remnants of wicker utensils over the original utensil is that originally they are not perceptible to tumor unless their rims are secured. But after their rims are secured, even though their rims fell away, if only the smallest amount of the rims remain, they're tame. Regarding a stick that one made into a handle for an axe, it is considered concerned with regard to tumor while in use. Regarding a dicer, it is considered connected with regard to tumor while in use. If one set in a post, it is tummy. But if you consider connected to the post, if one made it a dister, only that which part needs is tummy. Regarding a chair that one set into a post, it is tummy, but not considered connected to it. If one made a chair only its place is tummy. If one attaches to the beam of an olive press, it is tummy. But if it is not considered connected to it, if one made a chair at the top of the beam, it is tahor because people say to him, stand up so that we can do our work. Okay.
One more.
Okay. Regarding a large trough that was too damaged to hold pomegranates and one prepared to sit on, Rebbe Kiva was a tame. But the sages will tar until one cuts it. If he made it into a manger, even if one set it in a wall, it is tame. I'm not used to seeing that word manger in any Jewish literature. I'm just not.
Funny, I had exactly the same reaction.
Every time I say that, that
That
doesn't feel right.
sounds like a Christian word.
Yeah, yes, okay. Okay. Hey, if he performed Melika with the left corner at night and he slaughtered a non-sacred bird inside the courtyard or for his outside, he performed Melika on a non-sacred bird inside or on offerings outside or on turtle doves whose time has not arrived or young pigeons whose term has arrived or on a bird whose wing is atrophied or whose eye was blinded or whose foot was cut off, they contaminate with tumor via the throat. This is the rule. Anything that disqualifies is in the holy does not contaminate with tumor via the throat. But it disqualifies if not in the holy, it contaminates with tumor via the throat. All disqualified persons who perform malika, their malika is not valid, but the birds do not contaminate with tumor via the throat. Rabbi Yehuda says, I'm missing something. Rabbi Yehuda says it contaminates with tumor via the throat. Says Rameh, if the carcass of an animal transmits tumor through touching and carrying it, its slaughter rids its treifa of any tumor when the tar was of a bird which does not transmit tumor through touching and carrying does not follow which skita its treifa of any tumor. Thus, just as we find regarding skita that it renders piss and for eating, and it also rids its treifa of tumor, so too its malika. which renders permissible for eating, and also should rid its treifa of tumah. Rabbi Yossi says it suffices that it may be like an animal carcass which keeps it cleansed of tumah, but is not malik. Okay. Two
More.
more.
One
Okay.
more Mishnah. One more Mishnah in Zrachim.
All right, you have okay. Chet Aleph.
Yes.
If any sacrifices become mixed with kata's offerings, they must be left to die, or with an ox that must be stoned. Even if it's only 1 in 10,000, they must all be left to die. If they became mixed with an ox, with its sin, which a sin has been committed, either an ox that has killed a person according to the evidence of two witnesses, or the evidence of its owner, or with an animal that has committed an act of bestiality, or an animal in which an act of bestiality has been performed, or with an animal designated for idolatrous sacrifice, or one which has been worshipped, or became mixed with a harlot's payment, or a dog's exchange, or mixed breed, or a treifa, or an animal born by cesarean section, they should be left to pasture until they become blemished, after which they should be sold. Which the money of the most expensive of them, with the money of the most expensive one, he should bring the same kind of offering. If it is mixed with unblemished consecrated animals, the consecrated animals should be sold to those in need of that kind of offering.
Okay.
And then we go on to
Kesubas.
two bones, and we have Ted Vav. If she went from her husband's grave to her father's house, or if she went back to her father-in-law's house, but was not made an administrator, the heirs cannot impose an oath upon her. If she became an administrator, the heirs can impose an oath upon her concerning the future, but they cannot impose an oath upon her concerning the past. If a woman prepares a ketubah, she is not paid, except that with an oath. One witness testifies that she is paid, and one witness testifies to her that she is paid, and she is not, except with an oath. For property or offerings from assigned property or for his absence, she is not paid except with an oath. If she impairs a ketubah, how? If she ketubah was 1,000 zuz, and he said to her, "You have received your ketubah," and she says, "I received only 100," she is not paid except with an oath. If one witness testifies against her that it is paid, how? If her ketubah was 1,000, and she said to her, "You received your ketubah," and she says, "I have not received it," and one witness testifies against her that it is paid, she is not paid except with an oath. From assigned property, how? If he sold his property to others and she seeks to be paid by the purchasers, she is not paid except with an oath. From the property of orphans, how? If he died and left the property to orphans, seeks to be paid by the orphans, she is not paid except with an oath. Or in his absence, how? If he went overseas and she seeks to be paid in his absence, she is not paid except with an oath. And Shimon says, whenever she claims her ketubah, the heirs can impose an oath upon her, but if she does not claim her ketubah, the heirs cannot impose an oath upon her. If she produced a bill of divorce but not a ketubah, she can collect ketubah. But if she produced a ketubah but not a bill of divorce, she says my bill of divorce was
Oh,
lost. And he said,
no.
that's too far.
That's you just started the new Mishnah, so no.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, and we go on to Myshus.
Yeah.
Gimel. Caribs, when they form dark spots and all that are black.
No,
It's one. Sorry.
we're on Daled. We're starting on Daled.
And among vegetables, cucumbers, gourds, watermelons, cucumber melons, apples, and citrons are liable whether small or large. If Shimon exempts the citrons when they are small, when bitter herbs, almonds are liable. Sweet ones are exempt. When sweet ones are liable, the bitter ones are exempt. Which is their fleshing floor in regard to maestros? Cucumbers and gourds once their fringe is taken off. And if he does not remove it when they have been stacked, melons when they're smooth, if he does not make them smooth when he lays them out to dry, vegetables which are tied in bundles once they have been tied in bundles, if he does not tie them in bundles when he fills the vessel with them, and if he does not fill the vessel once he has gathered all the needs. A large basket when he covers it, and if he does not cover it when he fills it up the vessel, and if he does not fill up the vessel once he has gathered all the needs, when there's a supply, when he takes it to the market, but if he takes it home, he may eat of a chance meal until he arrives at home. Dry pomegranates and raisins, pomegranate seed, raisins, carrots when he stacks them in a heap, onions when he peels them, and he does not peel them when he stacks them in a heap, grain when it is smoothed down, and if he does not smooth it down, when he stacks it in the heap, pulse when he sifts it, and if he does not sift it, when he smooths it down, even though he smooths it down, he may take from the conglomerated and from the sides and from what there is inside the husks and eat.
Okay.
Don't forget
That's
to have your
it.
matzah. Don't forget to have